Hello everyone, Bible believers around the world. On this early morning, I'm going to be discussing the new Jesus animated movie that's currently in theaters apparently. Now we all know Jesus is not his real name. The real name of the Messiah is Yahusha, but that's not what we're going to be talking about today. We are going to be talking about how biblically inaccurate cartoons stun the growth of young believers. All right. Now, when I was back in Christianity, they would bring DVDs into the church often for us to watch movies. And I remember there was a Bible cartoon series called, I think it was called Superbook. And I remember about Superbook, from what I remember, literally every single biblical figure they made look like Japhet. Like everybody was a Gomerite, Magogite, Tubal, etc. And I recently made a community post about that on how they made Rahab, who was a literal African, look like a Jabbatite, basically. Made her Caucasoid for some reason. And they did it with everybody. Did it with Jacob, did it with Moses, did it with Abraham, Samson, the whole 9 yards. So basically, as a young black boy in the church, I was under the impression that literally everybody in the Bible was white. And people say color don't matter. And when it comes to the foolishness the One West camps do, yes, color does not matter. Color does not affect you when it comes to having a relationship with the Most High. Color does not matter when it comes to coming into the covenant and keeping the law. Color does not matter when it comes to salvation. And as in the recent series that is currently ongoing, I might do another episode, color does not matter when having marriage and relationship stuff. But when it comes to historical accounts, color very much does matter. And I'm actually going to be talking about my experiences among the Europeans versus what's going on in America. And that will prove that when it comes to stuff like this, that color really does matter. So this Jesus movie is just another cartoon of making everybody in the Bible Japheth again. And, I was kind of thinking to myself, I'm still waiting for somebody to make a biblically accurate cartoon where Black Paul the black man, goes to Europe to teach the white Japhet people. But they ain't ever gonna make that. No studio's ever gonna make that. I mean, seeing an animated Bible movie done right, like God, the forces of Gog and Magog, and their and their white people, and then you have black Hamites and black Israelites and black Edom and black Ishmael, that would be super cool. Someone who likes cartoons and animated stuff, all that type of stuff. Seeing the Book of Maccabees, with white people and black, that's something that would be super cool to see. But it won't happen because everybody's got to be white in these biblical cartoons. But I'm going to talk about the Europeans for a second now, and how shocking it kind of was for me when I went over there. So, as you guys all know, the name of my channel is Light into the Gentiles 7. And when I created this channel, and still the goal for this channel, is to reach and help Gentiles around the world who want to have a relationship and get to know the Most High Yah. And I will help wipe the floor clean with evil One West Camp doctrine. Now, I knew I was never going to get big, because as sons and daughters of the Covenant of Yah has talked about many times, we are both shadow banned. If you're not preaching lies, then you're not going to get promoted. I mean, that's just the truth. I mean, you look at, in terms of Christianity, it's the guys who are promoting pork eating and these pagan holidays and all that type of stuff who are getting the millions of views. And then you look at Israelite stuff, and it's the people who saying Esau is the white devil who can't be saved and all that other type of stuff, and they're the ones who are getting the thousands of views. So the earth is given into the hands of the wicked, so that's just a given. So I wasn't expecting, to get any crazy numbers. But when I was in Europe, I created a TikTok. And what surprised me is how interested and curious the Europeans were about Yah. Like, no joke. I mean, I wasn't posting really soft stuff. I mean, I was doing stuff about, Esau's not the white man, he's black. I was doing videos about keeping the law, black Jews, all this other type of stuff. Excuse me. And it was like they couldn't get enough of it. They kept watching it. My videos on TikTok have been getting a lot of views. They were loving them and commenting, and it really just completely debunked the narrative that One West pushes, saying, "Oh, white people, they don't like this truth." It's like, it's not the truth. I've said this before. It's not the truth that they're running from. They're running from that racism and hate and people calling them Esau, Edomite devils who can't be saved. So, I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. I mean, the amount of Romanians that I had, watching my page, and Italians watching my page, and, a little bit of French people as well. You would think it was a soccer game. They were watching it so much. And, the hearts that I received on my post was something shocking and something I don't believe would ever happen in the States. Why? Because, believe it or not, in America has it's just full of lies. And you look at Europe, and there's places in Russia where they still have black depictions of the Israelites and their churches. So the prejudiceness is not there, because from a young age, a lot of them have already been familiar with the fact that Christ is not a white man. But you come to America, and you go to Boston and Chicago and Seattle and all these different type of places, and you have the Jesus movie. So in America, these Gentiles, since they were a little kid, watching these cartoons like Superbook, have been shown that black people don't even have a story in the Bible. So as a result, we're insignificant, because, we all know the Bible's the most important book, of course. And black people don't have a role in it, based on the way America teaches it. So black people not having a role in the most important book in history of the earth shows that we're insignificant. So, Israelites, who are not part of the One West camps, can have issues, and, and do have issues in the United States, because the programming is so deep in those Gentiles that we're nothing, because all these Bible cartoons and all these teachings of white Christ and white Moses and white Abraham. But then you go to, Moscow and Russia, and they've had, black Christ in their church for the past 600 years, and they actually will listen and want to hear what you have to say, because they haven't been programmed to think that you're nothing. And I just find that super crazy, and I never expected that. And that's why I believe that biblically accurate, cartoons serve a good purpose. It's the same reason why, parents who don't want their children to grow up to be prejudiced and racist, show them at a young age diverse cartoons. Growing up, I had cartoons, that had Asian people on them, white people on them, African people on them. And, I grew up, not being prejudiced to any group of people. So that principle works with the Bible stuff, where if you were to portray the Bible as historically accurate, us Israelites would have a lot less of a hard time, in the United States. Because like I said, Superbook and the Jesus movie are just making the world a worse place. They're not helping anything. They're making it worse. I mean, what is the world getting by a studio lying and making Ruth the Moabite, a German woman, with brunette straight hair, eyes as blue as the ocean, skin pale like milk. I mean, what are we gaining by that when we literally have ancient depiction of what a Moabite looked like, and their afro was literally so big it was dangling off the back of their head, and we make Ruth look like that? And it's the same thing with, the Edomites and the Israelites, where, we literally have swarthy Israelites painted on the walls in Egypt, but yet somehow they all look like Tom Cruise, whenever we make a movie. It's just something I wanted to cover. I thought it was very interesting. Leave your comments down below on what you think, and take care.